All right, guys, so here we go for section 2 of Chords 101. So in this section, we're putting it all together. Everything that we've covered so far, everything that you've learned thus far has prepared you for this part of the course. Now, I wouldn't say that any one part of the course is more important than another because each new section builds upon the prior lesson. But section 2 of Chords 101 is the lesson where we're going to take the cover off things that have been hidden and solve the mystery that surrounds playing in all 12 keys. Now, how are we going to do that? So I'm going to teach you 10 of the most common chord progressions used in contemporary gospel music, which I like to call the Power 10. Now, guys, at least 2 out of 3 of the Power 10 chord progressions are used in nearly every contemporary gospel song. So what does that mean for you? Well, to put it simply, if you know and can play the Power 10 chord progressions, then you can play nearly any contemporary gospel song. And this is where enrollment in this course is worth its price of admission, because you're going to learn how to use the powerful system that I created to overcome this challenge, which I named the Key Connect system. The Key Connect system. So the Key Connect system is going to do at least 3 things for you. Number 1, it's going to give you the formula and the theory for each chord within the Power 10 chord progressions. Number 2, it's going to give you the formula for playing the Power 10 chord progressions in all 12 keys. And then number 3, it's going to reveal to you how the 12 keys connect with one another to make mastering all 12 keys much, much easier. Now, I'm believing that you're going to have an eye-opening experience the way that I did when I first discovered and started to take notice of how the 12 keys relate to one another. Believe me, when you know the basic theory behind what it is you're playing, it's like the blinders have been taken off. You're going to feel so much more confident that you can indeed master all 12 keys. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Now, first, let me say, if you've ever seen the movie Karate Kid, the original version, you should remember that the karate instructor, Mr. Miyagi, gives his student Daniel-san a lot of seemingly unrelated and boring assignments. Now, Daniel-san is not only bored with what Mr. Miyagi teaches him, he even begins to question whether he can teach him to fight at all. Now, to make a long story short, when he finally does get into a fight, he uses the techniques that he learned while performing what he thought was boring and unnecessary assignments. Now, I said all that to say that what you've learned so far may have seemed basic and fundamental, but it's crucial that you know those fundamental principles so that you can master what's coming up next. So here's what we've got. We've got 2 parts here in section 2 of Chords 101. Part 1 is titled The Language of a Chord. In this section, you're going to learn how chord names are formed and structured. And then in part number 2, you're going to learn the Power 10 chord progressions and the theory behind them using the Key Connect system. So let's get started with part number 1, the language of a chord. Now, if you recall in section 1 of Chords 101, you learned 6 types of chords and their associated symbols. And now you're going to build upon that by learning how chords are named. So the basic structure of a chord name will include 5 things. Number 1, the alphabetical letter designating which of the 12 keys the chord originates from. Number 2, the type of chord, which will include major, minor, diminished, suspended. Then number 3, the primary modification to the chord. So we might add a note to the end of the chord like a minor 7 or a major 7. Number 4, the secondary modification, which might be a flatted 5 or adding a 2 to the chord. And then finally, we have the voicing. So the voicing tells us which inversion we're using for the chord, the first inversion, the second inversion, or the third inversion. So in the key of C, I'm going to play the type of chords that you're going to learn when we get to the Power 10. And this will allow you to see the different chord names along with the modifications. So as I play the various chords, along with watching my hands, you should also pay attention to the chord names that will be on the screen as well. All right, so let's get started with our basic major triad. So right now, all we have is a C, which lets us know which key we're playing in. Now let's play a C minor. So now we have a C, which again lets us know which key we're playing in. And next to that, we have the abbreviation for a minor, okay, which is M-I-N. Now let's play a diminished chord. Now again, we have C, and next to our C, we have D-I-M, which stands for diminished. Then we have a C suspended chord. All right, our sus2. So now we have a C, and next to that we have sus2. Now let's play a sus4. And so now we have a C, and next to that we have the sus4. Now let's play a chord that we have not talked about so far, and that's going to be a major 7th. Okay? So to create a major 7th, all we do is add the 7th tone of the major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, to our basic major triad. So right now we have the basic major triad. Now when we add this 7th tone, it becomes a major 7th. And that applies to any key. In C sharp, we have the basic major triad. When we add the 7th tone, it becomes a major 7th. Okay? Now let's play a minor 7. So a minor 7 is made up of the basic minor triad, C, E flat, and G. And we're going to add the 7th tone of the minor scale. So now it becomes a minor 7th. And so the minor scale is made up of, in the key of C, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay? So the basic minor triad, and we add the 7th tone. So that creates a C minor 7. All right, so let's talk about another chord that's very popular in gospel music. All right, so we're going to stay on the minor, and that chord is called a minor 7 flat 5. So to create that chord, we're going to play a basic minor chord, minor triad. We're going to play the 7th tone of that minor scale, and we're going to flatten our 5. So now the chord becomes a C minor 7 flat 5. And we created that by playing a C minor chord. We added the 7th tone of the minor scale, and we flattened the 5th tone of that minor scale. All right? So now we have a minor 7 flat 5. And again, we can apply this to any key. Let's play a C sharp minor chord. We're going to add the 7th tone, and we're going to flatten the 5. So now in the key of C sharp, we have a minor 7 flat 5. And then back to the key of C, a minor 7 flat 5. So it's the exact same chord. All right? And then let's talk about chord inversions. All right? So we have our basic C major chord, C major triad in the root position. And then we're going to invert the chord. And so now you see a C over E. So what it's saying is that we're playing a C chord, but the E is actually on the bottom. Okay? So it's C over E, which lets us know that we're at the first inversion of the basic C major triad. Okay? And then if we invert the chord one more time, it's going to be C over G. Okay? Which lets us know that we're at the second inversion of the basic C major triad. And then again, if we invert the chord one more time, we're going to be back to where we started, again with the basic C major triad. So we have the root position, the C over E, which lets us know that we're at the first inversion, the C over G, which lets us know that we're at the second inversion, and then back to root position, just in a higher octave. Now the last chord that I want to talk about that I have not introduced yet is the tritone. So a tritone is created by playing any root note and then going up 6 half steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have our tritone. And that's for any key, okay? So to create the tritone for C, we have the root note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's our tritone for the key of C. Okay, so now that you've learned how chords are named, it's time to get started with the Power 10 chord progressions using the Key Connect system. So here's how this is going to work. For each of the 10 chord progressions, you're going to learn, number one, the number formula for the chord progression itself. And secondly, you're going to learn the names of the chords that you're going to play in both your left and right hand for each movement within the total chord progression. Now, if this seems confusing at all, I promise it's going to make perfect sense as we move forward. So let's get started with the first chord progression, which is going to be the 1-4-5. Now today we're going to learn all 10 chord progressions in the key of C, but remember you can use these formulas to learn the 10 chord progressions in any key. And just in case you're wondering, in the upcoming 12 lessons that will cover each of the 12 keys individually, you're still going to learn the 10 chord progressions in all 12 keys. So this isn't going to be like lessons that you might have taken in the past where the instructor teaches you something and then tells you to go and learn it in all 12 keys all by yourself. I promise that's not how we're going to roll around here with the 12 keys challenge. For each individual key, we're going to go over all 10 chord progressions. Now quickly, I have to explain how the Key Connect system is going to notate the chords in this lesson, because remember, we're not trying to teach any one particular key, but rather the general formula that you can use for all 12 keys. So the chord names will have a number where there would ordinarily be an alphabetical letter. So this is going to make a lot more sense once we get started with the 1-4-5 right now. So it's going to sound like this. 1, 4, 5. So let's break that down. So first let's go over the number system for the C major scale. C is 1, D is 2, E is 3, F is 4, G is 5, A is 6, and B is 7, and then of course C is back home to 1. Alright, so why is it called a 1-4-5 chord progression? Well, that's easy. In our left hand in the bass, our root notes are C, F, and G, or using numbers 1, 4, 5. Now if you don't know, the bass really determines what chords that we play. So now let's go over the chords that we're going to play over the 1, 4, 5. And I'm also going to teach you how the Key Connect system is going to notate the chords using numbers instead of the alphabetical letters. So for our left hand chord, you'll notice that we have the 1, and then we have a M major, which you should know represents major. So we're going to go to the 1, and we're going to play a major chord for this 1, which in our case is going to be C. So that's our first chord. Then we're going to go to our right hand chord, and if you look at the screen, it shows that we're going to go to the 1, we're going to play a major chord, and we're going to add the 2. In this case, in the key of C major, D is our 2. So that's our first chord. Now for our next chord, it shows that we have a 4, which in this case in the key of C major is F. So we're going to play a F major chord, and that's our second chord. For our right hand, it shows that we're going to go to 4. We're going to play a major chord, which that means we're going to play an F major chord, and we're going to add the 2. So now we have an F major add 2, and that's our second chord. Now for the third chord, for the 5, it shows that we're going to go to our 5, which is G in this case, in the key of C major. We're going to play a major chord, which that means we're going to play a G major chord. And for our 5, in the right hand, we're going to go to our 5. It shows that we're going to play a major chord, which this means we're going to play a G major chord, and we're going to add 2, which means we're going to play a G major add 2. And that's the entire chord progression. 1, 4, 5. So hopefully you guys kind of get how this is working out. Instead of the Key Connect system telling you to play a C major, it's telling you to play a 1 major, and that's because you can use this formula for any key. So take for instance the key of C sharp. If we want to play the first chord of the 1-4-5 in the key of C sharp, using the Key Connect system formula, we would go to our 1, we would play a major chord for C sharp now. Alright, that's our left hand chord, and then for our right hand, what we would do is we would go to our 1, which if we're in the key of C sharp is C sharp itself. We're going to play a major chord, and then we're going to add the 2 of the C sharp major scale. And so that would be the first chord of the 1-4-5 in the key of C sharp. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. So back to the key of C major. So again, our 1-4-5 chord progression is 1, 4, 5. Now, the 1-4-5 is used a lot in a lot of different songs, but the first song that I can think of is Lord, I Lift Your Name on High. All right, so that's the first chord progression, 1, 4, 5. So now let's move on to the next chord progression, and that's going to be the 2, 5, 1. So the 2, 5, 1 is going to sound like this. 2, 5, 1. One more time. 2,